Finally, this is the parking. At the end of the parking is where we have our meeting point with the local guides. Entonces, familia, aquí está la entrada para el parking y al final vamos a ver el punto donde vamos a descender.
And some little Christian palace inside, and then the Nasrid Palace, the most beautiful area here. The history of the Alhambra starts in the 13th century, in 1238, with the last Muslim dynasty that was living in Spain, exactly here in Granada. And these people were the Nasrid or Nathari dynasty, but the translation in English is Nasrid. Okay? These people, this dynasty, this big dynasty, were living here for 260 years, from the 1238 to the 1492, and they made all the buildings inside, all the buildings in the five. The first one, Mohammed I, that was living here on this part, on the left, the Al-Baithin neighborhood, is the most historical neighborhood in Granada and was protected by the UNESCO from 1986, and it's a World Heritage Place. It's the most special neighborhood that we have nowadays here in Granada. The first Sultan was living here, and then he came to this part of this hill, the Sabika Hill. He starts to make all the buildings in the 13th century, and the rest of the sultans makes the rest. All the city of the Alhambra has a size around 140,000 square meters, 14 hectares. And all this part that we are passing now is the newest part on the gardens. You have in the beginning we have all these lands down here on the left, from this down part to the mountain, 4 big lands. Nowadays we have 2, and the gardeners here to the right, and the gardeners continuing harvesting the fruits and the vegetables there. And all these foods goes nowadays to the ONGs and charity homes, to the people with needs. Okay, take a minute here, we have time. We have hot today too, but we have time, okay? If you want to sit a moment here, I want to explain some things here about the auditorium's histories. If you want to take a seat, here only 1 minute, okay? But it's good to be. Okay, this is the newest part on the gardens. We have this auditorium made it in 1952. More or less, is so new. This auditorium is used to celebrate the Classical Dance and Music Festival of Granada every year, every summer. To imagine the importance of this festival, Bob Dylan was here opening the festival the last year. Wow. And we have normally an international guest star to open the festival, and then the rest are normally local artists from here, from Spain. Okay, on this part that we have in the Alhambra every day working, you have all these trees around are normally cypress, and all these cypress are working to simulate the form of a wall, to simulate the inside of a palace, because all this part was restored in the beginning of the 20th century. You have the water representation on this fountain. And you have the special thing here is this floor. This stone floor is the typical Granada stone floor. You can find these kind of stones, the darkness and the clear, normally on the city center here in Granada. This stone came from 2 of the 3 main rivers here, from the Flume and the Arno River. And now we will try to go to the palace. Okay. Here on this summer palace, on this summer residence, the holiday residence of the sultans and kings, we will find two important courtyards. Two important courtyards.
역광이라서
아 그러네.
미쳤어요.
First
약간
courtyard,
내려서 찍으면.
first courtyard, we serve it for the animals, we serve it to lead the horses. Where we are going to find the old stables nowadays. There, as I said, the animals courtyard to lead the horses. Nowadays the offices. In the past, the stables. And the fountain, the original fountain, where the horses will drink some water. And now we have this intermediate courtyard where you can see a window on the top. This window always with a soldier to control the people who enter and go out of the palace. No. Perfect. From this point, we go up. This little house is part of the guest house of for the friends, the closer friends, the closer people to the sultans and the kings. The guests, the friends. From this point, take your photos. Okay, we have. This another winter, the balcony, always for the people, it's normal. But this space was reserved only and exclusively for the sultans. To have the control, yes, to have the control and the view of all the city. You have three ways to see the city. In front. During the national times. Now we have a special family always trying to make problems between the citizens and the sultans. The Aben Terrajes family. I will call the bad romance family. Why? The wife of the last sultan. Promise, these are the last upstairs in all the tour. From the gardens, all the rest. Okay, take care. Because of that, I always ask on my tours if I have people from France. But this is part of the history, you know. No te preocupes, como he visto ahí en el lado, digo,
Guys, this bridge was built in 1960. Yeah, and was built to connect
the original pass
the
of the water
with Alhambra.
to the main original aqueduct.
But it's original
The
the
aqueduct
aqueduct.
that leads water to all the city around. Now, nowadays we have another ways to move the water because the original aqueduct was destroyed by war.
Francescano, era molto legata ai
In the Alhambra with the Christian part and the Parasis area. Now we have the church, the biggest church here on the right, Santa Maria de la Alhambra, Saint Mary of the Alhambra. It was the biggest mosque in the Alhambra, in the Nasrid times. When the Catholic kings came here,
Sorry, the biggest mosque?
the biggest mosque here in the Alhambra, in the Nasrid times.
okay.
In the Catholic times, they changed. You can see the difference between the different blocks on the tower, because the darkness part has the bells and the cross on the top. It's the crest of the Napoleon troops cannons here. You want to make a photo, for example, when I give you free time, you can go.
Okay.
And here we have the
Cannons.
only Christian palace in all the Alhambra. This is the Charles V Palace. Charles V was the grandson of the Catholic king Fernando himself. He came to Granada in 1526 to celebrate his wedding. After celebrate his wedding in Sevilla, he came here to celebrate his honeymoon. He fell in love with the city, he fell in love with the Alhambra, and he wants to have something little, not little, here inside of the Alhambra. Because of that, he spoke with his architect, Pedro Machuca. And Pedro Machuca was a student of Michelangelo in Italy. Because of that, the style of this palace is the Renaissance style, the Roman style. We will wait in a moment for all the group, because there are a lot of people passing. Okay, wait a moment. When I give you now, when I finish this time, when I give you now free time, you have the toilet over there, okay? Just leave me. At the end of the corridor, upstairs for the ladies. But we will see. I have changed for one time now. No. To inside. This palace was started in 1533 and finished in the second half of the 20th century. It's the unfinished palace of the Alhambra. A lot of different architects and a lot of different plans continue the palace. For example, Charles V never lived in his palace because Charles V dies in 1558. And this palace was finished in 1961. This is a very simple name because in the Christian times, the people could sell and buy wine just on this place. The people of the city of the Alhambra. When another times,
Hasta luego, Alejandro. Pues también,
Sí, totalmente.
We have in all the Alhambra the colored mosaic for the low part of the walls, the plasters and wood for the 90% of the decoration, and normally the marble for the columns, for the stronger. As I said before to the palaces, no, here you can touch. It's the only place where you can touch. Like not, I'm here. Okay, come here to the left. Come here when you enter, please. Come here to the left when you enter. Okay, the Justice Palace. The main space of this palace was the space between these four columns. The Sultan was normally in the middle of these four columns, on the center, waiting for the soldiers to make the judgment of the criminals. All these windows open nowadays were all a big wall closed by the Nazarenes. Why? Because this space has to be private, a private space to make these judgments. Then the Catholic kings made different restorations here, and they opened all the windows that you can see open nowadays in the Alhambra, and they try to build a little church here. Because of that, you have these relics, you have these references, but we have one phrase that is the most repeated phrase, thousand and thousand and thousand times. But on the next palace, we have the ambassadors and throne room, and you can see people. You have here the entrance of the second palace, the official palace. The palace where all the official visitors or all the people who wants to have a meeting with the Sultan have to pass. The political palace. We have two doors, one door on the right and one door on the left. The door on the right goes only to the bedrooms, always closed for the visitors, on the first room, on the first floor, sorry. And you have the original structure of the wooden windows to preserve the privacy. The privacy was so important for this time. All the good things have to be always inside, always behind of the windows. Because of that, if you see the Alhambra from outside, you only see a normal palace, big palace. But you never imagine all the decoration that you can find here. I will show you things at this moment. Fish are really good. I don't like it. Okay, come here to this room. All the visitors have to this way to see the Sultan. If somebody needs to sit, you can sit here and feel as a Sultan. No, yes, it's for that, okay? If you are tired, you can check, okay? You can make and you can sit here. Okay?
You can sit there too.
You can sit
Oh, I'm
if you
fine.
want, okay?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay, here, some things to hide. When you enter on this room, you feel little because this room is too big. This is one of the effects that this dynasty wants to make. More things. Here we have the writings. The ambassadors of the sultans and the central hall on the front for the sultan. These people calculate the time of the visits to have all the sunlight behind of the sultan. When the visitor enters and stops in front of the sultan, they cannot recognize the original face of the sultan. They only can see the silhouette of a man, but with the light behind they can never see the original face. And even more, you have to think that these are the normal windows, the wooden windows, and the secondary windows on the top normally has some crystal colors in the halls. The effect when you enter here has to be amazing. And so for me it's more a defensive system on the 14th century because this palace comes from the 14th century more than decoration. More things here. Four official rooms from 15 to 20 extra official rooms. Much more, much more. And we have a legend. This legend says the Sultan normally throw an apple in the middle of the pool, and the concubines have to swim and to fight for that. The concubine that wins this game could pass the night with the Sultan. It's only a legend. Okay, now I will give you time, 5 minutes, the time that you need to go to this wooden door and make this amazing photo with the reflection of the tower on the water. Okay, I wait you here. Pues, muchas
Oh, okay.
We will enter now in the courtyard, okay, but I want to make a little introduction. Because you can say, you can tell now, why they have lions here if represent animals was not allowed. Two simple reasons. This is a private space, this is a private palace, and at your home you can represent whatever you want. And then we have no two similar lions. Each lion is different, one to another. And even more, this fountain was part of a gift of the Jewish people to the Alhambra of Israel. Because of that, we have 12 lions, and these 12 lions represents the 12 sacred countries of Israel. Then we have the four ways of water entering on the fountain. That represents the four sacred rivers: Nilo, Tigris, Euphrates, and Tigris. And then here, the real representation of the vegetation are the 124 columns around the courtyard, because each column represents a palm tree, and this is like a little oasis on the desert. This is the real representation. Because of that, it was a big garden. Nowadays we have the marble, but it was a big garden, and the people on the Alhambra call the happiness on the marble, different to white. Okay, people and the creepy legend says that these colors are rest of the blood of these people. No. In the scientific explanation, opposite from the water against the US. Okay? No rest of blood. Here you have to enjoy with that. Because the most important thing is this decoration. Carpets here to be with the family and some social. To socialize. And then the bedrooms are normally on the first floor, not close. You have not connection, for example, for this room. And you can put all the balcony, use all the balcony here. From this part, you can see the Albaicin neighborhood is the neighborhood on the left. If you see this white tower and all the people on a square, is the San Nicolas viewpoint, the most famous viewpoint here in Granada. And if you continue from this white church to the right, you can see another little white tower with two windows. It's the only one mosque that we have nowadays in Granada. Was made in 2001. It's new. If you continue to the right, you can see part of remains of a wall in the middle of the mountain. This wall is the wall that all the cities in Spain has in the 14th century to make the difference between the inside of the city and outside of the city, the limits of the city. From this wall to the right, you have the Sacro Monte neighborhood, the Gypsies neighborhood, the Flamenco neighborhood. It's the only neighborhood in the world where you can see a flamenco show on a cave. Because, yes, cave.
A cave?
Cave. Because they have the cave houses in the middle of the mountain. And they make the flamenco shows on these caves.
Oh, this is the
Yes,
cave.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
This is
From here.